Dad, I always told you I'd come back and get my degree. I want to thank Harvard for this honor. I'll be changing my job next year and it will be nice to finally have a college degree on my resume. I applaud the graduates for taking a much more direct route to your degrees. For my part, I'm just happy that the Crimson called me Harvard's most successful dropout. I guess that makes me valedictorian of my own special class. I did the best of everyone who failed. But I also want to be recognized as the guy who got Steve Ballmer to drop out of business school. If I'd spoken at your orientation you might be here today. Harvard was a phenomenal experience for me. Academic life was fascinating. I used to sit in on lots of classes that I hadn't even signed up for, and dorm life was terrific. There were always a lot of people in my dorm room late at night discussing things because everyone knew that I didn't worry about getting up in the morning. That's how I came to be the leader of the anti-social group. We clung to each other as a way of validating our rejection of all those social people. There were more women up there and most of the guys were math science types. The combination offered me the best odds, if you know what I. That's where I learned the sad lesson that improving your odds doesn't guarantee success. One of my biggest memories of Harvard came in January 1975, when I made a call from Courier House to a company in Albuquerque, New Mexico, that had begun making the world's first personal computer. I offered to sell them software. I worked day and night on the extra credit project that marked the end of my college education and the beginning of a remarkable journey with Microsoft. What I remember above all about Harvard was being in the midst of so much energy and intelligence. It could be exhilarating, intimidating, sometimes even discouraging, but always challenging. It was an amazing privilege, and though I left early, I was transformed by my years at Harvard. I left Harvard with no real awareness of the awful inequities in the world. The appalling disparities of health and wealth and opportunity that condemn millions of people to lives of despair. I got great exposure to the advances being made in the sciences, but humanity's greatest advances are not in its discoveries, but in how those discoveries are applied to reduce inequity. Whether through democracy, strong public education, quality healthcare, or broad economic opportunity, reducing and equity is the highest human achievement. It took me decades to find out. You graduates came to Harvard at a different time, you know more about the world's inequities than the classes that came before. In your years here, I hope you've had a chance to think about how in this age of accelerating technology, we can finally take on these inequities and we can solve them. Imagine, just for the sake of discussion, that you had a few hours a week and a few dollars a month to donate to a cause. And you wanted to spend that time and money where would have the greatest impact in saving and improving lives. How can we do the most good for the greatest number with the resources we have? If you believe that every life has equal value, it's revolting to learn that some lives are seen as worth saving and others are not. But if it is true, it deserves to be the priority of our giving. So we began our work in the same way anyone here would begin it. We can also press governments around the world to spend taxpayer money in ways that better reflect the values of the people who pay the taxes. It can never be finished, but a conscious effort to answer this challenge can change the world. We need to see a problem, see a solution, and see the impact, but complexity blocks all three steps. Even with the advent of the internet and 24-hour news, it is still complex enterprise to get people to truly see the problems. When an airplane crashes, officials immediately call a press conference. They promise to investigate, determine the cause and prevent similar crashes in the futures. But if the officials were brutally honest, they would say of all the people in the world who died today from preventable causes, 0.5% were on this plane. We're determined to do everything possible to solve the problem that took the lives of the 0.5%. We don't read much about these deaths, the media covers what's new, and millions of people dying is nothing new. It's difficult to look at suffering if the situation is so complex that we don't know how to help, and so we look away. So in the meantime, we have to work with what we have in hand, and the best prevention approach we have now is getting people to avoid risky behavior. This is the pattern. The crucial thing is to never stop thinking and working, and never do what we did with malaria and tuberculosis in the 20th century, which is to surrender to complexity and quit. The final step after seeing the problem and finding an approach is to measure the impact of the work and to share that success or failure.